say, kids, what time is it?
Hey, it's Edson from GeekTime TV, and I want to talk to you about WandaVision, Episode 4. We're taking a sharp turn here as this episode doesn't focus on the title characters. We open up with Monica Rambeau. She's coming back after being missing for 5 years due to Thanos' snap, and she's in the hospital where she had been waiting for her mother to be discharged, only to find out that she died 3 years ago. In Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home, we only see the people coming back and you see the happiness and the celebration, getting back together, but we never see the trauma of of people having missed the last 5 years. Tiona Paris in this scene does a wonderful job conveying that confusion and devastation of discovering her mother's died and she was robbed of those last moments with her. So a couple weeks later, she pulls herself back together and reports to her job at SWORD. As mentioned last time, it does stand for Sentient Weapon Observation Response Division. We find out that she is Captain Monica Rambeau and that her mother was one of the founders of the organization. If you remember, Maria Rambeau was Carol Danvers' best friend in Captain Marvel. Maria was the previous director of SWORD before she died, and she had left orders that if the missing agents came back, they were not to fly any more missions into space. And for some reason, the new director decided to stay with that protocol, so he tells Monica that she's grounded. And instead, she's assigned to help the FBI with a missing persons case because they want to use a SWORD drone. We also see a plaque of Maria on the wall showing her call sign, Photon. More on that later. So she meets the FBI agent on this case is none other than Jimmy Woo, played by Randall Park, who was last seen on Ant-Man and the Wasp, hassling Scott Lang for drawing on the walls in Germany with Captain America. They meet outside of Westview, New Jersey, the last known location of the missing person, and the case suddenly turns into a missing town because the local police don't seem to have any memory of the town at all. So Monica sends the drone in. They see it pass through some kind of energy field around the town, and it disappears and she loses contact. So naturally, she reaches out to touch it, and she also disappears. In response, SWORD sets up a multi-agency operation just outside of town, and at first their plan seems to just to send in more drones, and they just disappear and lose contact. But then they make some progress when one of the experts they bring in is Darcy, who's played by Kat Dennings, and we last saw her on Thor: Dark World. She is now Dr. Lewis and an expert in astrophysics. So I really didn't understand the science of this, but she detects high levels of cosmic radiation that dates back to the Big Bang. And from that, she's able to isolate a broadcast frequency that captures the video of the last 3 episodes on an old TV. Again, not sure how that works, but I guess it moves the plot forward. Anyway, you also see that she's actually the person seen at the end of the episode, at the end of episode 1, who was watching that show within a show. So they obviously recognize Wanda and Vision, but then they go on to identify the other supporting characters as actual residents of the town, but now playing different parts in the sitcom. The one picture with no ID, with the ID missing, is Agnes, leading us to think that that she might be more than just a simple townsperson. And actually, this leads me to the one complaint I have of this episode. That Catherine Hahn didn't even have any screen time. Also, Dottie doesn't even have a picture up, no picture or ID, although perhaps at this point when they were putting up the pictures, they hadn't gotten to episode 2 yet, which is when Dottie appears. There's some nice moments in this episode. You have Jimmy having a whiteboard up, and he starts asking. He writes down the same type of questions that we might have at this point, such as, is Vision really alive, or why all the hexagons? We also see that the voice coming through the radio calling out to Wanda in episode 2, that's him trying to reach her. The other thing we find out in this episode is the person in the beekeeper outfit from episode 2. His name is Agent Franklin. They send him in hoping to infiltrate the town through the sewers. He's actually wearing a hazmat suit, but when he passes through the energy field, which surrounds the town even down in the sewers, his outfit turns into a beekeeper suit, much like the drones that they send in turn into retro models. But we still don't know what happened to him after Wanda rewinds his scene. But what we do see is the final scene in the last episode where Wanda blasts Monica out of Westview. That wasn't shown in that last episode, although it was pretty easy to surmise, but we see it here now. But the scene mysteriously is censored from the video Darcy's watching. So there's something going on there. And this time when we see Monica crash outside of town, she says, "It's Wanda. It's all Wanda." But is it really all Wanda, though? I mean, we've seen she has a lot of control going on around her, but there are certain incidents that seem to be happening to her. So when she goes through her pregnancy, she doesn't seem to have any control over that. As when she has labor pains, all her powers just act out uncontrollably. So remember we said that Monica's mother's call sign was Photon? So Monica Rambeau actually goes back to 1983 in the comics. She joins the Avengers as the original Captain Marvel and is even nominated to be their leader at some point by Captain America himself. Later, she changed her name to Photon, which of course calls back to Maria's call sign. So if going forward, Marvel does want to have both Monica and Carol Danvers in the MCU, I'm guessing they're going to go with her Photon name here. You can see when Wanda hits her with the powers in the last episode, or we actually see it in this episode. There is residual energy all around her as she hits the ground. This may indicate that Wanda's blast could cause her to get her superpowers in the MCU, and maybe that's how she becomes Photon in the future. And we go back to Wanda and Vision, and for a quick moment, Wanda sees Vision's head damaged, and as when he was killed in the Infinity War. It really shakes her up. But then in the next instant, things kind of go back to normal, and we see her and Vision happy again, sitting on the couch together, holding their baby boys. And that's it. That's it for episode 4. It was quite different than what we've gotten so far, but we did find out a few answers to some of the mysteries in the first 3 episodes. But not to worry, they left plenty of more tantalizing questions to try to get us to come back, and hopefully it makes us want to go watch the rest of the series. We still don't know what that Hydra connection is from the commercials, and again, going back to the part about Darcy discovering those cosmic rays, could that be pointing to some kind of ancient figure being involved in all this? Because in the comics, we have Mephisto has a part in Wanda's twins coming into existence, so he could be making an appearance at some point. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. It does help us grow the channel and helps us to make better and more content. And I look forward to talking to you about episode 5.
If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, make sure you click the little bell icon to be notified anytime someone from our show drops new content here. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
morning, kids. What time is it?